Welcome to AI for ADHD professionals. We're going to talk a lot about both some of the tools you can use and how to use them to effectively help yourself get things done and to really shine as an ADHD professional. So, thank you so much for joining me. First, let me just introduce myself. My name is Elle O'Flaherty. I'm the founder and head coach at Interlace Solutions. I'm a keynote speaker, and also I have a subspecialty and passion for ADHD coaching. And of course, I'm a member of the community. I'm also a recovering lawyer, so forgive me if I get down into the nitty gritty a little bit. Sometimes I love doing that. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat or the Q&A. I will periodically stop to look at those. And also, if you want to interact with each other, please feel free to do that there as well. This QR code right below me is a link to all sorts of good stuff, including my social media, and you can sign up for my newsletter or other ways to get involved. So please take a look at that, take a picture, and I'd love to be connected. So let's get started. I was going to start this like a boring webinar and ramble on a bit about AI and ADHD and all that good stuff. However, I got too excited and I'm just going to dive in. And so I would like to invite you to come and write a book with me, or at least start one. So we're going to take it to ChatGPT real quickly here. And I want to show you, I pre-wrote this prompt. Hopefully you all can see it okay. But I pre-wrote this prompt basically asking, please write an outline for a book about the Olympic Village and going in a little bit into details about how I want to talk about the Olympic Village from the first Olympics to now, what the amenities were like, and then going into a bit of the how the amenities have changed, some of the more recent controversies about the amenities, and talking about the future and the economic impact of the Olympics on host countries. So when I put all this into ChatGPT, and you'll notice that I put a lot of my ideas down in this, that I give it a lot of good direction and specifics. The more specific you can be with ChatGPT, the better. So when I put this in, it comes up with a book outline and it's pretty solid. Um, you see that it's broken down into chapters. This is something that I can use. And while it's writing this, I don't consider ChatGPT to be cheating at all. I know some people do. I also don't consider it to be a tool that will do the work entirely for you. So, could you use this to write a book this afternoon? Yes. Are there people who are doing that? 100%. Would you want your name on a book that ChatGPT wrote? Probably not. So this is just really, I see this to get us started. And then as we scroll back up here, and the power of the prompts here, right? I use this every day, and so I'm pretty familiar with the prompts. And so again, being specific and telling it what you want it to do. And when ChatGPT is kind of like a lazy research assistant, so it will give you the least to answer your question. So this is how I like to make it give me the most. I like to say things like, please expand on this portion of the outline. Um, and add detail. And then I really like the power of the semicolon because then ChatGPT doesn't get confused. It knows what you are talking about and it kind of focuses its efforts. Um, but as you can see here, right? So now this is more of an outline. Um, and if I wanted to, I could keep digging down and ask it for more and more things, including digging down on any of these sections. I mean, it's basically starting to write our first chapter here. Um, Now, again, is this a book that you would want your name on? No, we're going to go back through and heavily edit. I like to think of this again as not the smartest research assistant. And so you want to go through this, you want to edit it, make sure that it's more interesting and how you would write it. But it's so much easier, as I think we all know, to tear into someone else's work than to have to come up with it whole cloth. Um, and so I studies have shown, and I don't know why, but studies have shown that when you are polite to ChatGPT, you actually get better results. And also in the future, when they're picking their human pets, I want the computers to remember me fondly. So I always say thank you. And then I say, and you can see here that I'm asking specifically that I want peer-reviewed articles and media accounts from major outlets with citations. Again, this is a dumb research assistant, right? So we are absolutely not going to expect this to come up with the perfect citations, and we're going to go through and check all the citations, of course. But this just gets us going so that we can start jumping off. And of course, as we all know, when we've done research, once you find one good piece of research, it's much easier to continue and find others. And so this is how I like to use ChatGPT one way. There are many, many ways. But I just wanted to quickly show you how we really could, by the end of the day, have a book written. And it keeps going and going. You see there are tons of sources here. But I just wanted to jump in instead of talking theoretically and really show you the power of this. And ChatGPT is releasing all sorts of new things all the time. Actually, just made a release this morning that is called, I believe, Canva, and it's where you can have it learn and look at your files, and then it can do things automatically for you. So there's lots going on here. But let's talk about. I will now. So I got too excited. I just wanted to jump in and start making stuff. But here are the topics we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about some of the big things that ADHDers often could use some help with. Things like productivity and time management, motivation and accountability, procrastination, overwhelm, routines, brainstorming, and home. And all of these are absolutely great for AI. It's interesting, the executive function challenges that we have are the kinds of things that we can get this research assistant slash assistant to help us with. And I heard a colleague tell me that one of her colleagues was saying that she's not in favor of AI because it's going to do all of the easy work, right? Like all the scheduling and all that good stuff, and leave just the hard work behind. But we as ADHD people tend to love that kind of work, the creative work, the innovative and deeper thinking and analysis. So we're well positioned moving forward, which is pretty great. Um, it's also ADHD Awareness Month, so yay to any of you who are ADHD. Um, I was going to go through sort of what ADHD is, but I think that I've done that enough in many, many webinars. But as we know, it is not a lack of attention. Instead, it's highly variable attention based on how interested we are in a topic. Of course, we have key areas of strength and struggle. So things like creativity and ideas, our hyper focus, our higher tolerance to risk, all of which will serve us extremely well moving forward, where we see where we're going in light of AI. And our challenges like decision fatigue, procrastination, all of these that are listed, as I said, these are great things that we can absolutely get help with, and AI will sort of start taking those off our plate, and it absolutely already has for me. And I hope by the end of this webinar, you feel comfortable letting it help you as well. One thing I haven't heard people talk about as much is they sort of talk about AI as a monolithic, but there are many, many different types of AI. And you can see on this list the AI that we currently have now, as well as some of the things that are under development and are theoretical. And so now the kind of AI that we have are things like reactive machines, right? So these are like self-driving cars, which you give it data and it does limited things for you. So like limited memory, narrow, these are things where they're given specific information and they're able to do something. Um, this started out early. One of the first reactive machines that I think of is Deep Blue. It was a pretty famous chess playing machine developed by IBM, and IBM inputted all of the pretty classic chess moves. And this computer was able to beat the grand champion at the time in the world. And so that's a pretty easy task because there's a universe of possible moves, and it's really just calculating based on sort of, what the options are. But when we start getting into some of these theoretical things like theory of mind, self-aware, general AI, which that would look like Data, if you remember from Star Trek: The Next Generation, this would be like a walking, talking sort of sentient being that would react and would understand human emotion. And then super intelligent. And this is kind of like the Matrix. This is something that is really um, reactive and understands human emotions. It's sort of all encompassing. These are not real yet. And hopefully they won't become quite as dystopian as those movies portrayed. But just some of the things to understand about where we could possibly be going with AI. Here's how I like to use it. And as you saw, I think it's really challenging for a lot of ADHD people and frankly humans in general to start with a blank page, meaning, okay, I have this big task. I need to write a book. And staring down the blank page can be really very challenging. In my experience, it's always easier, as I said, to tear into someone else's stuff. So I like to use this as a research assistant where I ask it to start creating an outline for me, for instance, and I put in all the parameters and my ideas. So you know, you have to have the nugget, the gold nugget there. But you're working with the AI as sort of a research assistant, bouncing ideas, getting citations, as you saw, and all of these things can be very, very helpful, especially when you're trying to flesh something out or think through or expand upon ideas. I also like using it as a personal assistant. Basically, anything that I can automate, I have. And anything that I can give to the nice robots and not have to think about it, I am in. And this tends to be another area of weakness where we aren't great with those sort of like nitty gritty details and repetitive tasks. So this can be very helpful, as well as externalizing our memory. Most folks with ADHD have working memory challenges. So we have trouble remembering exactly what happened in a meeting. We have trouble remembering that thing that we were supposed to do that our partner mentioned on the way out the door. And so all of those are really great to apply tools to and get a little help. And again, as I want to reiterate, this is not cheating. We are not having AI, replace humans yet. We're not having them, they can't come up with that initial creative nugget. And so this is really just a tool to help propel us forward. So the first thing I want to talk about is your external brain. And I love this use case. This is about creating planning, reminders, and execution, and how AI can help us with that. So, for task management, for instance, AI can intuitively help prioritize our tasks. And there are these really interesting reactive to do lists that prioritize on different things based on the deadline, based on how urgent and important you've told it is, based on how your calendar evolves and changes. It reduces decision making because it can tell you what the next important thing is and it can slot in a time to do it. So it'll just appear on your calendar. Um, it also helps to give us templates and for repetitive tasks, I am a huge, huge fan of having things like uh, email, email templates. So you just click one button and it pops up, or better yet, your lovely robot assistant will just, when something happens, it'll automatically react by sending that email template. It's also great with checklists and being able to build those out so that we don't have to remember some of the things that we routinely do. We tend to walk into, even if we've done something a million times, like getting ready in the morning, whereas neurotypical people have sort of a checklist in their mind. We generally lack that functionality. So for us, it's like we've gone in and it's the first time every time, which is a challenge. It also leads to decision fatigue and inefficiencies. So, having these kinds of checklists and externalizing those and offloading your memory onto your phone or whatever you're using is wonderful. Now, it's also great for, I want to show you one app called Notion. This app is like the big daddy of of AI when it comes to productivity apps. It's called Notion. It has, as you can see here, this is its little AI app symbol. And you can do all sorts of things. So you can brainstorm ideas, you can summarize, you can uh let's see here. This is oh, I want to show you this. These are ChatGPT prompts, for instance, that you can use its AI and ChatGPT and create content. So if you wanted to create content for, and you just fill in your audience, give me 50 problems, you click this one click and you would have 50 problems that your audience might have. And those, that would be a great jumping off point for your content. It has all sorts of different prompts. Then it moves to strategy. So it can help you create a content posting strategy. It'll help you with research, with hooks. There are tons and tons of things that this can do. So basically, this could entirely replace your social media manager, or and it can also build out. You can see here captions and hashtags, so it can also build out all of those posts for you. Again, you're probably going to need to do some editing. You're going to have to put some thought into this and how you craft these prompts. That's the nugget, the gold nugget that you have. But then it'll just get going for you. Same idea with some of your to-do lists. It can help create Gantt charts. And these are great because you can automate them and have it so that things are automatically assigned. It'll send reminders without you having to worry about it. So it takes some of those really tedious and not great managerial tasks off your plate, which is pretty cool. So these are just some ways. Oh, by the way, I should have said this much earlier. I beg your pardon. At the end of this session, you're going to get a handout with all of these tools categorized. So please don't feel like you have to scribble them all down while I'm going. Um, then project management, and this is such a great task for AI. As I said, it can send the reminders, it can track things, it can automatically react when things get done. It can help you break tasks down, which is pretty cool, especially for folks who are ADHD. When we see like write the great American novel, that's really overwhelming, and that leads to procrastination and a lack of motivation. And so I wanted to show you one tool that I am pretty obsessed with. It costs, brace yourselves, 99 cents, but it was developed specifically for the ADHD community. I love it. I think it's going to make me, oh, it doesn't make me sign in. Great. It has, as you can see along the top here, a bunch of seemingly disparate, but I promise they're connected and all very much geared for our community, different things that it can do. So for instance, if I wanted to send networking emails, that on my to-do list feels overwhelming and a bit challenging. But what this does is you can type anything you want into here and you can put the number of chili peppers. And this is how much you want it to break down the task, all the way up to like it's breaking it all down. And once you do that, you receive a list that looks like this. And it has each step, identify the purpose of the networking. If that feels overwhelming, you can see that there are little magic wands where you can further break down each step, and which is pretty cool. So then you have, some of these, and you can break it down very far. I've gotten as far as open your laptop, which that seems achievable under most circumstances. Um, but then it can also estimate how long these things will take, which is great because if you're using one of the sort of to-do list computer overlords, you can put that estimate and the item into your to-do list, and then it'll slot that in automatically so you can get these things done. Um, you can also add some subtasks. You can edit it, all sorts of things. I have broken down tons of things. This is my family vacation to Ireland last April. And as you can see, I broke all of this down. This really helped me to set everything up. Um, I used another AI tool that I love called TripIt, and that will scan your emails for any travel related confirmations or emails or anything, and it will automatically create an itinerary for you. And so like everything is in there, all the confirmations, all the documents, and you can just click on it and your boarding pass will come right up and all sorts of good things like that, which that kind of organization is not my jam. And I think I might not be the only ADHD person. Um, Other things that it does here, which I just want to highlight this quickly because it's pretty cool. Um, formalizer. So you can type what you would normally put into an email. I tend to be very to the point with my emails. And I noticed that most folks like a little more like, "Hey, how are you doing? Happy Monday." So I can type in whatever I want here and it can make it more professional. It can make it more sociable. There are all these different ways that you can make it. Um, you can also put in your text or an email you receive and you can push judge and it will tell you like what this means. So what the person is trying to say here. It will also tell you how that your email might be interpreted by other people. So for those of us who are ADHD who have some trouble with always reading social cues, this can be hugely helpful. It'll also little AI magic. It'll suggest a response for you, so you don't even have to write the response. You can just edit it or just send it. Um, there's also a professor which will explain things to you with examples. There's an estimator about how long an activity will take because of our time blindness. This can be really helpful. Sometimes we have challenges underestimating, grossly underestimating how long something will take us. Um, there's also a compiler which you can just put a bunch of tasks in here and it'll turn it, or a bunch of things you want to do and it'll turn it into a task list. So again, this would take you, I don't know, 20 seconds maybe, and your to-do list is there. And then finally, and this one I kind of love, as ADHD people, we often have trouble feeding ourselves because it feels overwhelming. And by the time we notice that we're hungry, we're really hungry and we just grab whatever we can find. Um, this is cool because you can say what ingredients you have, what time, all that good stuff, and it'll suggest what you can cook. So again, it takes the decision away out of the equation for us, which can be really helpful. Um, I'm kind of obsessed with that tool. I'm not going to lie. I love it. And I've shared it with a lot of clients. And so far, folks have found great success. So just something to know. Um, then part of what I was talking about there was delegating. If we can let our robot friends do things for us, especially things that we do not enjoy doing, absolutely delegate. And as you can see here, there are a lot of apps that will help with this. Everything from a scheduling assistant, there's a great one that will basically you can invite your whole team. I'm going to show it to you in just a little bit, but you can invite your whole team and all of your schedules are synced and you flag whatever on your schedule is flexible as it goes in. And so it will automatically find a time for you all to meet and rearrange any meetings that need to be rearranged and fix the next people's schedules and so on. And if you suddenly, like if you're out sick for a day, you can just click clear my day and it will automatically figure things out and ripple effect all over your whole organization. And so it's kind of magical. And to do that as an individual or as an executive assistant would be unbelievably challenging. And this just happens like that. So it's pretty cool. I also love, love, love AI for handling spam. There's a great tool called unenroll.me. Um, we often have trouble with our email, and one of the great things to do is just to eliminate anything that we don't need and doesn't need to take up our time. There are a lot of other great ways to handle our email, but I just wanted to highlight that one. Then, oh, I wanted to show you clockwise. I think this is what I just described, so please forgive me. But this is, let me just log in right quick. And you'll see what I'm talking about. So this is, you can reschedule anything. You can set your ideal day and it will aim to make those days for you. You can add flexibility. So whatever it is, as I was telling you, that's flexible. And if people in your organization or in your family use this, then it will just take care of all these things and all the rescheduling and finding times for you. So you don't even have to send out a scheduling link or do a doodle poll. It's just done. And you can invite anyone to this, by the way. It doesn't have to be within your organization. Um, so I love the opportunities here. You know, things I want to make sure also that I'm sharing things that are less commonly known because there's so much coming out constantly. And basically any executive function challenge that you have, there's absolutely a tool and probably AI that's going to help you. Then I love automation. My entire business is automated. I've done it to the fullest extent possible so that things are running in the background and I can spend time with my clients or giving talks to organizations instead of having to do all the invoicing and all that good stuff. Um, and it, so there are a couple of things that help here that help connect different apps so that they're more powerful, that also create workflows so things are just happening. They're triggered automatically and they're just happening. Um, document management so that you're automatically filing, that you're keeping track of those documents without having to do anything or even be aware of it, as well as note taking. And I have some great examples here that I want to show you. First, Zapier. And this is probably one of the most powerful apps out there. Basically, at this point, you can connect almost any apps through Zapier. And you can, as you see, I have built some out here. It also shows you some options. So for instance, save a new Gmail emails matching certain traits to a Google spreadsheet. I have one set up so that when I receive certain emails, it automatically will take the attachment and file it. And so all of these sorts of things just save amazing amounts of time that we don't realize we're even spending. And there are tons and tons and tons of different ways that we can do this. There are tons of different apps. So you can just find an app and you can look at what kinds of things you can do. But this, if you can't figure out a way to automate it, I can almost guarantee that Zapier somehow can do it for you. It's incredible. The other tool that I want to highlight is If This Then That. And this one's pretty cool too. So this is a app that helps trigger things happening, sort of like Zapier, and then it connects, but it's situational. So if something happens, then this whatever you set up happens. And what's cool is it used to be a little bit cumbersome trying to figure out like how do I do this, but now with AI, you can just write anything and you can tell it what you want it to happen. So if you want to, if every time you get an email from Linda, then you want to file it into the Linda folder, this can just do it for you. Or if every time you walk into your house or get within 10 feet of your back door, you want all of your smart lights to turn on and maybe music to start playing, this will just do it for you. It'll be linked through like the GPS in your phone, and it'll just happen. You won't have to do anything. So all of these sorts of things that can take away those little annoyances, I love it. And this is so fun to play around with. Let's talk a little bit about support. We all need support. Of course, first, let me just say nothing I'm going to show you is a replacement for a mental health professional for complaining to your friends about that terrible thing that happened at work, all that good stuff. But sometimes we do need a little support, a little motivation, and some help with overwhelm. And some of the new AI apps that are coming out are offering real time support. It's reacting to not only what you're saying in the moment, but what you've said in the past. And it's personalizing its advice and strategies, some of the exercises that it might offer. And so, for instance, I just wanted to show you this is an app called Wobot, which I kind of love, and also it kind of makes me uncomfortable. Great name though. And as you can see, the Wobot says, "Hi, last time we spoke, you were a little upset. You want to talk about it?" And this has a better memory than I do for what I was talking about with my friends last time I saw them. And then it reacts. And what you can't see at the bottom of this, it's a little cut off, but at the bottom of this, where it says, but since we can only deal with one at a time, and then there are buttons that you can push, like, do you want to talk about your anger? Do you want to talk about, whatever it might be? And so it's sort of like an AI mental health choose your own adventure. And it really can be helpful. And sometimes if you don't, have a therapist just laying around or someone to talk to, it's great. Um, then, as far as motivation, and this is a very cool thing that AI can do, there are tons of apps that will automatically track your goals. For instance, it will turn your goals or your tasks into games. which can be really, really fun. And there's also things that can encourage you. Focus Mate is a great app that will pair you up with someone if you want to do a little body doubling. So that's sort of like positive peer pressure where you both are committing to do a task and you're going to check in with each other. Also, Focus Music, Brain.fm is a pretty neat app that will automatically play focus music. It can also be used to help you transition from one task to another. So all of these are really cool, and I encourage you to take a look at them. With the caveat, as always, we have interest-based brains. And so I can't tell you what's going to work for you. I encourage you to view this as sort of a science experiment. And the right tool for you is the one that you are interested in and that you enjoy using. So if one of these tools that I mentioned just doesn't resonate, forget it. It's not the right one for you, and just try something else. No big deal. Now let's talk about productivity and time management, which can be challenges for us or anyone in this day and age. But specifically talking about our getting our tasks done, um, using our time wisely, maintaining focus, and help with decision making, which can be a challenge for us. So, for projects and tasks, as I mentioned before, it is great to have task templates. I use Trello for my to do list, and it is a series of picture a board with sticky notes on it, and each sticky note is a task. But I use templates so that, for instance, I do a lot of public speaking. And so when someone hires me to speak with their organization, I create a card and it automatically has a checklist of all the things I need to do to get a presentation ready. And so I don't have to do any of that. It just pops up and I just start working on the project. I can tag my assistant and whatever I need her to do. I can attach files. So everything is very organized and it's wonderful. Um, as I said, you can also keep project notes there. And so sometimes, whomever I'm working with, we will write notes back and forth and you get a little notification. And it keeps a record of all that, which is really great. These tools can also help you, like for instance, Todoist, as I said to you earlier, to prioritize, to automate your to-do list, and to reschedule missed tasks, which is cool. And it really helps because we're not always going to finish our whole to-do list. And for most ADHD people, our to-do list is probably 1,000 items long. And so the rescheduling is helpful because it doesn't make us feel like we didn't accomplish the thing. It just means we haven't done it yet. And I really like that kind of growth mentality and also not punishing ourselves if we haven't finished everything because it's okay. Life is long. We're human. No big deal. Um, I also like reminders and deadlines. So, sort of the easiest version of this, which you've probably done, is hey, Alexa, remind me at 10 o'clock to feed the dog. So, those kinds of voice commands. It's also great that depending on what universe you live in, Google or iPhone or whatever it is, that you can sync these things across devices. So, if you set a reminder and your phone is across the house, but you're sitting at your computer, then that reminder will likely pop up. Also, smart reminders. And this is the idea where um, maybe you set a reminder for a specific location. So if you go down the street to where the shops are, it might pop up a reminder, hey, don't forget, you said that you wanted to get some more Cheerios. And boom, you will remember it because of the location you're in. And so those kinds of things can be just incredibly, incredibly helpful. Then this one is kind of interesting. So, timers and focus. Um, Absolutely, gamification is great, and timers are fantastic. Time timer is a great one. Things that help us see time passing instead of just kind of seeing a number that doesn't make that much sense to our brain. I will say that I am a little bit concerned about some of the apps that use negative reinforcement. Typically, when I'm working with clients, I recommend only using positive reinforcement for ADHD folks. Basically, like we've gotten enough negative messaging, we're all set, no more of that. But for instance, Forest is an app where when you start doing a task, your forest grows, and that's great. But if you stop or if you lose focus, then your forest starts to like wilt and die. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. I don't use Forest, but other people I've talked to have said it's very motivational. Another one is Rescue Time, which this is the ultimate computer overlord app to get things done. And this is what it looks like. So it will tell you. It just tells you what to do. The next thing comes up, it automatically like puts it in your schedule. You just do it. You don't have to make any decisions or think. It'll also tell you it automatically builds in time for transition. And so it'll pop up with like a warning like this that says, okay, 10 minutes to your next meeting. And that's maybe when you start your transition ritual. When it might start playing some music for you, maybe you get up and stretch, whatever it is that you do to transition, this will automatically poke you in the ribs and tell you to do it, which is kind of nice. It is definitely heavy handed, but some of us could really use that. Then, talking about time blindness and estimation, I showed you a little bit with Goblin Tools, how it can estimate time. There are lots of other tools that can link your hours to your tasks. So it will estimate the time and then it will automatically grab tasks and start putting them into your schedule by priority order. It'll also pay attention to how you're spending your time. And so it'll give you insights and it will also give you an estimate of how long it usually takes you to do the thing, and then suggest time blocking based on those estimates. Um, it can also give you a little bit of feedback on if you're frittering time or if you're sort of wasting time throughout the day. Again, I want to put a caveat. We are not machines and we need to have fun and joy in our days. And we are not designed to work for 8 or 10 or 12 solid hours without any break and without any joy. So, these can be really cool, but I do caution that I don't want anyone to feel like guilty if they're not using every second of their day because that is neither feasible nor advisable. Just something to keep in mind. Then, decision fatigue. As I mentioned, several of these will just tell you what to do, like a very bossy assistant. But that can be really helpful for some of us who are ADHD. Some of these tools can also react to fires. And so if you get something very urgent, like an urgent email, it'll recognize that. It'll schedule time immediately and reshuffle your whole calendar, which is pretty cool. So those kinds of automatic to-do list and calendar adjustments can be really helpful and make us feel like we can get this done. It's not overwhelming and that we don't sort of spiral because there is this fire. Instead, we know everything will get done because our robot friend will just take care of it and re juggle everything, which is pretty cool. And Focuster and is a great app for this. It's pretty powerful and it's interesting. Now let's talk about motivation. So important, right? Um, and this is for how we can help with our commitment and how we can get a little coaching and support. So, again, these are kind of interesting. The first one I'm going to talk about here is Fabulous. It, I think, was designed specifically for ADHD brains. It's pretty cool. Um, it helps you tie your goals to stakes so that there's more of a carrot and a reason for you to do it. It also will personalize the prompts and report and alerts that you get. It'll give you encouragement. It'll say, "Hey, great job getting that done," which just feels good, even if it's coming from a machine. I have a couple of apps that do that kind of thing, and I'm going to tell you without any shame, it's nice. And so those kinds of things that add encouragement are great. Um, Coaching is another really great one, again, giving you guidance and encouragement. There are also some apps that are kind of evil and they give you negative reinforcement. So, for instance, Stick and Beeminder are sort of similar in that you can put a big goal into them. So, let's say it's to hike 50 kilometers in April. Um, You'll put that goal in, it'll help you break it down into what you need to do to get there, and you put up actual money. So if you fall below the line and you aren't meeting what it takes to get to that goal, it'll start charging your credit card. And it's evil but persuasive. So, some people really, really like. I'm not sure I need to add that level of challenge in my life, but some people really, really like it. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think on those too. Then, gamification, which is so great. Everyone loves gamification. Well, most people love gamification. And so things like, goals that'll help you, setting goals and then help you play a game, customizing challenges, suggesting self-care along the way as part of gamification can be really helpful. And one I want to show you, I love Habitica. It's so interesting. Um, this, if anyone remembers old school Zelda, it really reminds me of this. And let me just click out of this. But as you can see, you can add a habit. You can add some of the daily things and your to-dos. And as you complete them, you get gold coins. You can get rewards here. You can also customize your rewards. So you can decide, okay, I get to watch TV if I get 90 coins or whatever. And it's pretty fun. You can also sign up for challenges here. And so there are all sorts of different things. So if you like games and if you might be incentivized in this way, it's pretty fun. It's a really neat one, and it's done very, very well. So so one thing to think about here. There are other gamification apps, of course, but that one's fun. And also you can create a team and have community support, which is nice. So something to think about there too. Then how do we integrate all of this? So I've given you a lot of tools. I've talked about a lot of different ways to do this, but how do we personalize it? How do we get in the habit of using it? And how do we use it, which I just started touching on for transitions, for instance? So first of all, I always recommend when you choose an ADHD tool or I'm sorry, an AI tool, customize it. That is so critical. So for instance, my ChatGPT, which is kind of my best friend, I've trained it and taught it. I've taught it a lot about myself, about my business, about the kind of clients that I'm looking for, the kind of work that I do, how I like to talk. And so the information that it spits out is so much better and it's tailored specifically to me and my needs. I have a colleague who actually fed a pretty huge amount of his emails into ChatGPT and taught it how he writes. And so now ChatGPT writes in his voice when he's asking it to write emails. You can also customize and let the AI know your work habits, like when you have the most energy, and it will make your schedule sort of the harder things or the things you need to focus on more. It'll heavy load your schedule during those times. Your organization style. So if you like to organize things visually, for instance, then you can tell AI that. You can also change how it shows you information. And then also time management suggestions based on how you like to do things. So like if you like time blocking and getting things based on a task assigned to a time, great. If not, if you like to be able to pick your own task and just have some time set up and let it ask you, you can do that too. So there are a lot of options to customize AI, which is you'll get so much more bang for the buck once you customize it. Then here are some things that I love. I love, love, love making routines and having that outside of my brain. As I mentioned, every time I walk in to do something, it's the first time. And so there are a lot of different habit tools out there with AI, but one of my favorite ones is called Brilli. It was designed specifically for folks with ADHD brains. And as you can see here, what it does is it lets you create these cards. And so you build out a routine. I recommend as specifically as possible. You build out a routine, and then each card is one item. So, like, take your medicine. And as you can see on this card, the person gave themselves 1 minute to do it. And as you finish things, you swipe on the card, it makes a nice sound. You can see that the color changes from green all the way to red as you start running out of time. At the very bottom of the screen, it tells you how long the routine will take, and that time starts getting shorter as you finish things earlier. And so it's great gamification. It's great in so many different ways. I really recommend Brilli for routines, but there are tons of other things that you can use as well, of course. Then, as I mentioned, transitions, and this can be important. We're not great at we have trouble starting things, but we also have trouble stopping things. And so if we're working, 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 and it's dinner time, sometimes it's hard for us to come down to dinner, challenges like that. So things like um, setting reminders and having your assistant say, hey, guess what? It's transition time. Or automatically building in transition periods, like I showed you with some of these apps. Also, limiting downtime activities. And what I mean by that is rescue time will automatically block certain websites and things on your computer and on your phone so that you can't go trolling Facebook or whatever it is you're going to do. It can maintain that lockdown during your downtime so that you don't get sucked into something like Plants vs. Zombies and then can't transition back to work. It can also automate task switching so you don't have to think about what the next thing you're going to do is. And as I mentioned, optimize the timing based on when you have energy and focus. Finally, it can cue a transition routine. So, for instance, music can automatically play. If you have smart lights, maybe the lighting can change. There's a lot of ways to do this, but it really, really can help to have the transition outside of ourselves, just to have it happening. Then one thing I definitely want to talk about is ideas. And this is the gold for ADHD folks, right? This is um, where we really shine generating ideas. We need to be able to capture them, refine them, all that good stuff. And we want to make sure that your brilliant ideas don't just go by the board. And so some of the ways to help with idea generation, which we don't always need help with, we generally have lots of ideas. But things like MindMeister that help you visually organize your idea. And I'll show you Coggle, which is another example. Things that help you expand your idea, like you saw I was doing with ChatGPT, asking it, okay, expand upon this point. What if we added this? And you can kind of bounce ideas and exploration, whether that's in helping with research or whether it is offering up, what if we did this with the idea? It's much easier and faster to do this with an AI assistant. And so I wanted to show you Coggle real quickly. This is this is pretty cool. It automatically builds a mind map, and you can use AI to help you as well. There are templates, there are lots of easy ways. And so you see this one is about motivation and emotion. I did not build it. Um, but as you go out, you can see that it's a different way to organize an idea and information. And many of us who are ADHD, we prefer visual representations of things. It just makes more sense to our brains. And so this can be really helpful. You can also, as you get into some of these smaller branches, you can see that you can add, this one doesn't have it, but you can add like PDFs or research files, or you can add things onto this to make it sort of smarter so you can click on it. You can also link it to places like in your SharePoint or other places. So these can be really helpful if you like that kind of visual idea exploration. Now, how do we capture the ideas? And this is so important. Many of us have our best ideas like driving or in the shower. And so, voice commands and using your voice assistant, like, hey, Google, take down this idea or text this idea to me, can be really important. So can transcription. And I mean that for two reasons. One, if you're in a meeting and you are generating ideas, oftentimes we aren't great note takers, either because we write down literally every word because we're afraid we'll forget, or because we get distracted and suddenly we're like, what happened? What? So having our friendly AI device take notes can be really helpful. And transcription can also be great for things like speech to text. So we think faster generally than we can write or type. And so sometimes that gets frustrating, and it's frustrating to write because we want to get all these things down quickly. I have a colleague who wrote their entire book dictating it into Microsoft Word. And so you can use this for lots of things. You can be pacing, walking around your neighborhood while you're dictating. It's just a great way to do it. Then these tools can automatically summarize, categorize, and pull out the actionable steps. And I use one called Fathom. I use it every day. I use it with all my clients if they're okay with it. And my lovely and beautiful assistant Shayna hopefully doesn't mind that I'm showing our most recent meeting, and I think she's on this call. So hi, Shayna. Um, but this is what it generates. It's like magic. It listens in on your call and it creates a recording, a transcript, and also a summary. And the summary is scary good. I really should be a sales rep for Fathom. I have sold this to so many people. But yeah, you can see that it automatically pulls out all of the action items, and then you can copy it for Google Docs, for Asana, Todoist. So you can automatically copy it and send it to your to-do list. You can also get Zapier to do that. Um, and then the way I have it set, it's automatically sent to all of my meeting participants. So they get a copy of this, they get the transcript, the meeting notes that are annotated. And when they get the notes, they can just click on that annotated bit and it takes them right to that portion of the video. Which is great because when I'm meeting with clients or when I'm talking to a potential client organization, I want to focus on what they're saying. I don't want to worry about having to capture it in my notes. And so this just makes me a lot more present and it takes away the stress of trying to like scramble and get the notes down. So I love Fathom. I'm a little obsessed with it. As I said, if anyone from Fathom wants me to be in your ad, let me know. Um, then how to enhance our ideas. So getting recommendations, things like uh, Pinterest, we can get ideas from there. It'll also recommend things to us based on if we pin some visuals, some design suggestions, which things like PowerPoint will do that now, and it'll just automatically suggest design for your slides. Um, Visual inspiration and spitballing, which I love using AI for that. Just kind of throwing ideas out there and getting what it says, and then thinking, no, ChatGPT, you're nuts. What are you doing? And digging into it and then asking it to polish again and adding some bits. And so it's really nice to iterate with it. And the nice thing is it's not a person. And so I won't drive someone insane by iterating for a very, very long time like I like to do. Um, as you noticed, it was great at writing an outline. Microsoft Copilot is also great at this, ChatGPT, great at drafting documents and then polishing your writing, which Grammarly now has an AI component. I love Grammarly. It can automatically make suggestions, some of which are definitely ludicrous and you don't have to take. But just to notice any areas that it is picking up on is great. And so it's like you have a copy editor just living in your computer. Um, the other nice thing about capturing these ideas with AI is that they're searchable. They can be collected and automatically tagged. You can collaborate on ideas with other folks or with the AI robot. You can also ask it to spot connections, which is pretty cool. AI is pretty good at pattern recognition, not as good as the human brain, but getting there. And it can also help suggest next steps. So those are pretty cool functionalities. Then, as far as reminding you of your ideas, because we have all these ideas, we've captured them, we've written them down. I don't know about you, but sometimes I don't even remember them. So it can help with filtering any related emails. So if you're working on a new project with someone or an idea, it'll automatically file those for you. It can also set reminders and nudges and say, hey, remember that idea you had? You should probably look at that. It was a good idea, as well as suggest follow-ups and automatically generate deadlines, which is pretty cool. And as ADHD people, deadlines tend to motivate us, so that's helpful. Now, in addition to your professional life, I just wanted to quickly talk about how AI can be used at home because we are not an island and all of us have our home life too. I already mentioned things like having smart lights or outlets and things that you can automatically turn on lights or you can close the garage door from your phone, robot vacuums, home workflows that things just happen, as well as security. So locking or being able to see who's at the door, all these kinds of things we know. But this kind of automation can really help reduce stress as well because you know what's going on and you know you didn't leave the oven on because you can just look at your phone and it's fine. Um, can also be really helpful for finances because of our impulsivity. Sometimes we get into trouble with spending without thinking. So a lot of these tools can help with budgeting, with automatically paying your bills, with help with taxes. I use QuickBooks for my company, and it's really cool how it just categorizes everything automatically, everything that I spend money on. If I need to keep a receipt, I just take a picture of it on my phone, and it automatically does its thing on QuickBooks. And then when it comes to tax time, pretty much everything is filled out for me, and I just check it over, which is great. Um, a lot of my clients come to me because they have trouble getting their taxes done. So let's automate. It's perfect. Also, as I mentioned, building routines, so great. Automatic scheduling. family shared calendars or any communication tools like that can be really, really popular. I'm sorry, helpful. And so is this is kind of a weird one, weirdly specific, but I'm telling you, having a family hub, like for instance, I do not know why, but I have a smart refrigerator and it has a screen on it where since I have this screen, I put our family calendar on it. And so every day, my kids, my husband see exactly what we're doing. And more importantly, me, because I'm usually the one who forgets, sees what we're doing and we're all synchronized because it's in a common spot. So thinking about having a family hub that is smart and automatically does things is great. So is, as I mentioned, meal planning. There are apps that you can take a picture of your refrigerator and it'll see everything that's in your fridge. And actually, my weird smart home, my smart fridge does this too. And it will suggest what you're missing. You can also, it can suggest meals. You pick which meals you want, and then it'll just generate a shopping list. And if you've taken that picture, it'll tell you what you're missing. Um, you can have smart cooking devices like an Instapot or an oven that will automatically adjust cooking times if you're getting home later, for instance, or if something isn't quite done, it hasn't reached the temperature yet. So there are a million things you can do to make cooking easier, which is kind of an area of challenge for us. So something to think about there too. Um, then as I said, we gotta have fun. And so some of these tools can help with fun, like helping to create mood music, like Spotify will suggest a playlist to you if you just put in a couple of things and then it'll just suggest the rest of the songs, which is kind of nice. Creative projects, you can use Dolly or Midjourney to make really neat AI pictures, and that's definitely coming along more, as well as to support your reading. Sometimes our eyes don't move across the page like neurotypical people's do. Instead, they jump around. So sometimes it can help us to use Audible or to use Speechify, which reads text to us while highlighting the words. And it can help us to get that reading done more quickly and more enjoyably. As well as assigning tasks at home. I mean, you're still running kind of like a small business, the business of your family, right? So coordinating and assigning tasks and tracking appointments. This is my Trello board that I use here, and you can see that it's great. As I mentioned, it's kind of like having sticky notes on a wall, and you can pick things up and move them around. And so it's just a really neat way if you share this board with someone else, could be at work, could be in your personal life, to easily see where tasks are and assign them to each other. So, what are our takeaways? And I'm going to speed through this because I know I want to make sure that I have at least a minute for your questions. But the big takeaways here are AI can help with anything, any executive function challenge. Absolutely. We are so lucky as ADHD people that the kinds of things we find challenging are exactly the kinds of things AI can help with. And the things that come easily to us, like creativity and idea generation, are the things that AI can't and likely won't ever be able to do, at least not in our lifetime. So it's kind of great. We're in this really sweet spot. And it's exciting to think about how much easier life can be and how much we can let our strengths shine by using these tools, which I love. Um, I'm going to look at your questions real quickly. Here is that QR code. Please take a picture with your phone because you will see there's a little button you can click to download the handout from this presentation. So you will have all of these resources and tools categorized, and it's very easy to take a look at them. So let me quickly look at the chat and see what we've got in here. Um, I see that in the Q&A, I have a couple of questions. One says, in many sectors, professionals are not allowed to use ChatGPT for business purposes. So true. Lawyers, bankers, auditors, etc. Um, can you share tricks to get around that limitation? Yes, absolutely. So any sector that has confidentiality or privacy concerns, first, you can make the suggestion to your leadership and IT department. There are closed chat GPT universes where all the information that you upload is only in that closed universe and it only learns from your information and maybe like if you upload case files or let it have access to Westlaw or something. But that can really help with security. So, for instance, there's a Camo GPT, which is the military's internal chat GPT that they're starting to use. So, these can be customized to basically any situation. You just need to have your leadership that's open to it. And if you aren't able to use it in that way, then, for instance, for lawyers, ChatGPT is amazing at summarizing opinions. So maybe you feed in a publicly available opinion on a case, you get the summary that helps you to understand it quickly, and you'll probably go back and read it in more depth. But you can do things like that that will help you without abridging confidentiality. The next question, which of these apps do you like best? Which has the most functionalities? Oh, so I'm a little biased. Again, the right tool for you is the right tool for you. But I love Brilly and Goblin tools so much. I use them every day. I love Fathom, which I use pretty much every single meeting that I'm in, and it has revolutionized how I'm able to interact during meetings. Um, and what else do I love? There are a few others that I love, but most importantly, it's sort of seeing which one resonates with you. And I always recommend when people start using a new app or an AI tool, set it up the easiest way possible at first. Some of my clients have really fallen down rabbit holes of trying to have the perfect thing in place. And so then it takes them hours or days or never to set it up. So I really recommend just doing the minimum, doing what's easy and like what will just be minimally helpful for me and set it up with that. And later, if you want to go back and add bells and whistles, then that's great. Feel free. Well, thank you so much. I really apologize. I know that I'm a minute over. I got overly excited and built out too much for this webinar. I hope I didn't overwhelm you. But thank you so much for joining me. And please do download the form with all the apps. If you'd like to follow me on social media, I'd love to connect. And if there's anything I can do, feel free to reach out. You can see on that page on this QR code that there's also a link to schedule a consultation or to talk about if you want me to speak at your organization. So happy ADHD Awareness Month. Yay, us. And I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much.